Hello, beloveds. Welcome to Bevin, a femme over 40 and her friends podcast. I'm your host, Bevin. I've said my name 3 times. It's time to start the show. My co-host, Biscuit Reynolds, my feline overlord, my cat, who has since passed away, is still my co-host in spirit. And he's here more than ever, I think, because he's very present. I feel him all the time. Today I am responding to a listener question. I love listener questions. Please send them to me, fatkiddanceparty@gmail.com. Solo episodes are a lot easier for me when I have a topic, and something I love to talk about a lot. This topic, I was asked, what does it mean for you to have faith and to really just trust in God and walk with God? And it's from a friend who I know, right? So I know a little bit of the faith journey for this person too. And I just want to say to her, she has a big destiny as well. I think I'm a person with a big destiny, so does she. And so I'm going to speak to that kind of faith today. But first, I want to tell you how you can best support the podcast. I promised myself when I started the podcast I would never do an episode without talking about my Patreon page. Patreon, Patreon.com, is a membership support site that allows folks like you to support creators like me who make work that you value. In this day and age, I really think we're leaving the record company era of the way things get made, and it's more fan created, taking the middle managers out of things and instead creating with and for fans. I can draw a direct line between the folks who have supported me on my Patreon to the art that I'm creating today and the life I'm able to live today, honestly. So I'm so grateful for my Patreon page. It's a safe and secure site. I don't have to pay the security people who secure all the data. That's Patreon's job, and they do a pretty great job, I think. And so all of it is through that. You can cancel anytime. I am so grateful for people past, present, and future who have supported my work. And a lot of cool stuff is there. I've been on Patreon since I think at the beginning of 2019 is when I started, so about 5 years. But I also knew that once I started my Patreon page, I had to always talk about Patreon, right? That's kind of the first thing I tell anyone when I coach them. I do some one-on-one business brainstorms for folks. So if this is something that's interesting to you, email me, fatkiddanceparty@gmail.com. I would love to support you in this. I'm a Reiki master healer, and I use the Reiki connection. One of my great gifts is actually that I can see people's highest potential, which is a very big difficulty in dating. Don't date people's potential. Date what they're really doing and their behavior. But seeing people's highest potential really helps me help you create your next steps. So if you've got ideas or don't know where to start or just want some feedback, we can do just a Reiki session and I can tell you what comes through. You're always going to leave sessions with me with book recommendations and creators I think that would help you on your journey. I am a hungry hippo when it comes to reading books and learning new things and just leveling up myself. My personal growth plan, I think, is pretty primo. And I'm really grateful for the work I've done on myself in the last 5 years specifically. I've worked really hard on myself. And part of how and why I've been able to work so hard on myself is because of the support of my Patreon supporters. One of the things I really dream of being able to do in life is to support artists and activists through Patreon and through buying land projects like the one that I live on, where people can have lower cost of living. In these times, I want really cool people to have low cost of living so they can really focus on, doing some of their work, but then also spending a lot of time regulating their nervous systems and healing. Because I think a lot of what holds us back are limiting beliefs that are installed in us through traumatic events and other people's limiting beliefs for us. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in this episode. But patreon.com/FKDP, which stands for Fat Kid Dance Party. It's also linked in the show notes, is my Patreon page. There is lots of cool content in there for you, including spiritual self-care lessons. There's a whole tier about that, how I use my spirituality in my self-care as a practice to nourish myself. It's so funny. I never would have guessed that's what I would endeavor to do, but it's been definitely a call on my heart to teach about that stuff. And I also teach aerobics classes. My aerobics class is called Fat Kid Dance Party, which is for anyone who feels left behind by mainstream fitness. If you've ever been called too much, too fat, or felt too awkward to dance, mine is the supportive class for you. I will introduce you to yourself And it's way more than an aerobics class. It's more like an inner child healing, grief practice, release practice, nervous system regulation, joy practice, all of that in one package. So give me a little bit of your time and I will give you joy is my work product. That's what my biggest challenge in life is like how to communicate about what I do, right? So this is practice, right? The podcast is practice, and the podcast is just a connection point with me and all of y'all out there who are spending time with me. So anyway, thank you for your support if you already support. And if you don't want to join as a member, there's a tip jar on there under the shop. So you can just tip me through Patreon, or you can tip me through the show notes. There's lots of ways to support me creating this work, which is free. And I want it to be free because I want folks who are like coming out of like, limiting thought belief cultures, right? Like body fascism, like the idea that there's a wrong way to have a body, which is not true. And that's made up and something that's taught to you because of white supremacy. Fundamentalism, religious fundamentalism specifically. I think there's a lot of people who are raised with very limited ideas of what it means to be a happy, successful adult. And in fact, there are so many ways to be a happy, successful adult. And I want to introduce you to people who are happy, successful adults. That's what the whole point of my friends part of this podcast is. But then there's also me, a happy, successful adult, whatever success means to me. And success to me is like a regulated nervous system, peace in the present moment, and a continual pursuit of a worthwhile dream, and living through my values. Those are the things that are really like, if I'm in success, and I know success is just like a thing you have to show up for every day. You can't just slack off and expect to stay successful. That's not how it works, sadly. Okay, so faith, which I want to say too, like a shout out to anybody who listens to my podcast. I get listener feedback from people who say, I don't believe the way you believe, but I still enjoy your podcast. And I have to say, like, I never thought that when I became spiritual, right? Like when I was 31 and I started like getting into spirituality, I'm so grateful. I was not raised in religion. I was raised kind of adjacent to Catholicism, but not in Catholicism. So I don't have religious trauma. So I was able to come to it as a tabula rasa and like really just take what I like and leave the rest. And that's like kind of, this is my vibe with everything. There are a lot of people I very much admire, but I only agree with them about 80%, 20%. I'm like, I kind of, COVID's a thing, like whatever. There's lots of people who don't do things that I think are morally correct for me. And that's okay. Because again, there's lots of ways to be a happy, successful adult. But I can still learn things and glean things from people. So thanks for showing up, even if faith isn't your thing and you still want to listen to this episode. Spirituality, I think, is like a practice. It's an opening. It's a connection to something that is greater than just yourself and the individual. And I want to say that part of the effects of coloniality and colonization is the creation of the individual. Because an indigenous ontology, that means the way we perceive reality, is relational. It's I am because we are, right? And colonialism like takes you out of your supportive tribe that makes you whole, right? Because none of us is, I think we're all supposed to be different, and all of our diversity makes us stronger as a species. So none of us alone is as strong as we are together. And so that's why it benefits systems of power to individuate us and to make us feel small. I think faith, the practice of faith and trusting God makes me feel bigger. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like there's more that I can handle because of who I know holds me. I'm someone who I'd like to distinguish myself from Christian hegemony and say I'm like a Christ follower. I love the teachings of Jesus the Christ, but he said greater things than these shall ye do, meaning he was an example for us. And I kind of see him as like a brother and someone who I walk in the footsteps of. And I know that the coolest thing about Jesus to me is how relaxed he was, even though he was like angry sometimes, flipping tables, like, and had a lot of righteousness and a lot of unfair things happen to him. But his faith was so strong that he was very relaxed. And I love that vibe. And that is what I want for me. The other night it was the hour of the bat, really trying to use that, like after golden hour is the hour of the bat, right? I don't see bats a lot this year. Haven't been in the forest as much as I have. I used to come out every single day, but I've been hustling outside of teaching aerobics online and doing my podcast. So I have not been on the land as much. And so I've not seen bats this year, which is sad, but I trust that the bats will come. But the hour of the bat is the time when the bats come. And I was outside my house, just chilling in the garden, eating a popsicle. I had just taken a bath. I don't have a bath in my house. I have a bath. There's like a clubhouse where I live on this land that I'm so grateful that 30 years ago a bunch of women got together and put this together. I can't afford to buy here, but I can afford to rent here, and I'm really grateful. And I live down the street from my mom, which is never something I thought would happen for me. But again, allow yourself to surprise yourself. Like as soon as I make a declaration, God has a sense of humor and comes in and gives me the opportunity to be like, oh, I guess I was wrong about that declaration. And I'm grateful to have my intuition to check in with. I've been saying yes, chef, and thank you, chef, to my intuition, because my intuition has a 100% success rate. And there are so many times I look back and I see the way my intuition was trying to nudge me to like cancel that thing. That's going to be a big disaster. Cancel it. And I didn't do it because my ego was like, no, you got to do this individual. I wasn't relying on the resources I had at the time, but I know now. And it's, mistakes are great teachers, better teachers than success ever could be. So I laugh at myself because otherwise I would just cry. Okay, so I had taken an Epsom salt bath because salt baths are a very important part of life for me as a spiritual person. I just want to clean my energy field. And so I had just taken it, and I love, I'm a hot tub girly. If I had a hot tub, I have had a hot tub once for 2 beautiful years, and I would be such a good hot tub mom again when God trusts me to shepherd a hot tub in my life. But didn't have a hot tub, but came home from having sat in a tub. And so I was just sitting outside cooling down, eating a popsicle, looking at the stars coming out. And I just felt this incredible peace and satisfaction. That to me is success. And that is my faith journey, is just trusting that I can work into the feelings, that the things that I want to have come to pass in my life in the material world are many, and they are vivid to me, what I want. And a lot of what I want, honestly, is the who. It's like I want to have land. I want to have little tiny houses where my friends can come and visit. I want my land to have a hot spring on it because I think that could happen for me. And so I'm just putting it out there to whoever's listening. I want a hot spring. A little spa for my friends to just come weary and like rejuvenate themselves, because a hot spring, like, oh, I love a hot tub, but I love a hot spring even more. And anyway, so that's part of my like faith journey, is like having these massive dreams on my heart. Like, I want to say I've always been a big dreamer, but when I was a teenager and a young adult, I was so caught up in self-loathing. I did not give myself time to truly dream about what was possible for me. But as I developed better self-image, and I had some success, material success in life that was related to talent. You know what I mean? Like certain things like blew up because I was talented at that thing. And when talent and opportunity collide, that's, it's like success is where, or luck is where preparation and opportunity collide. And so I think sometimes talent is preparation if you haven't done the preparation, but you're talented. Hey, and beware of being talented at stuff that doesn't matter. I was very academically talented, and I ended up getting a law degree and 6 figures of student debt and chronic IBS and mental health issues because of my law career. So, like it wasn't my path. I can see the way my intuition was trying so hard to get me to turn around and do something different. Alas and alack. I've said this on my podcast. There's a good episode I did about regrets. That was another good listener question about regrets and like how I've learned from those. But in my faith walk, like having the audacity to dream is really vulnerable. Having the audacity to have faith, because faith is belief in things unseen. You have faith every time you get on a bus and someone else is driving. You have faith that that bus driver is handled and is not going to get into an accident or injure you in some way, or like falsely imprison you and take you somewhere else, right? You have faith that the bus is going to go on the route that it said it was going to go on, and that the bus driver is going to handle you responsibly. When you get on a plane, you have faith that the pilot is going to handle you. You know what I mean? You have faith that your Diet Coke is going to come from the flight attendant, right? Like, obviously we have some expectations in the material world that give us that, the support for that faith, right? But like, I just like, if you can perceive God as the bus driver, you know what I mean? Like, I'm so grateful for my therapist. Normalize going to therapy like going to the gym. My therapist, I have been working together for about 5.5 years, and he has walked me through some really hellacious times in my life. And a lot of what I've had to work through is my metaphysical beliefs and knowing and my faith being completely different than what's in the material world. But something that Marianne Williamson teaches on a lot, I'm taking a year-long miracle-minded membership thing, coaching. It's like a once-a-month coaching call. Plus, I'm doing her Course in Miracles, Mornings with Marianne. It's $25 for the year. Highly recommend. The Course in Miracles is so good. She talks a lot about being miracle-minded is not focusing on the material world, focusing instead on the vision you have for the world you want to see. Because nobody who was a big dreamer, Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. Nobody who was a big dreamer, like even Prince, like I look at his old interviews and he talks about a vision for his work that is much greater than what was happening in the material world, you know, and like, and he just really worked in faith with his vision. And he talked a lot about his relationship with God. His song Colonized Mind, the two-party system, it's their form of fascism, right? Like just listen to the lyrics of that. Without God, it's just the blind leading the blind. And I don't want to push my beliefs on anyone, but I do want to challenge people to have a relationship with your intuition, even if you don't believe in God. Like your intuition is there. Like, I mean, the way I see a cat, my beloved cat Biscuit Reynolds, if he needed to shake himself off because his nervous system was dysregulated, he would just do it. He didn't think about it. It was just the instinct he had. And there is a distinction between instinct and intuition. I think intuition is the connection you have to guides, etc. And instinct is like what the body is doing. And a lot of times when our nervous system is so jacked up from years and years of trauma, and like it's not just the traumatic thing that happened, it was not having anyone to help you regulate yourself after the trauma. And once you do that work, which I think most healing work is just easier to do with other people, whether that's one-on-one in therapy or group therapy. I think 12-step work is like really cheap group therapy, very financially accessible group therapy. There's a lot of ways to do it, you know, a lot of ways to get into that nervous system, but your instincts stop hijacking you and you can start, like I've been dealing with some mega healing, which at some point maybe I'll talk about it under the Patreon, but maybe I'll talk about it with you. But like I have had the opportunity, these 2 Capricorn full moons we had, to really examine a hard situation I was in from a new perspective. And none of the times where that stuff was coming up did I feel dysregulated. And that is a nervous system win. My body has just been like chill. You know, like it's like the safe space I've been cultivating in myself. This is the work of healing, the cumulative work of healing, is like developing the safe space that walks with me no matter where I go. And I trust it. And that's another important part of faith is trust. It's just trust. It's like trust, like doing a trust fall. You can't see it, but somebody is going to catch you, right? Like it's self-trust. It's trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. Like I think intuitive work is self-trust and imagination, and like just allowing yourself the space to have imagination. Delulu is the Salulu. If you have any strong Pisces placements, I really think you need to spend a good part of your day in some Delulu, you know, allow the daydreams to come, facilitate the daydreams. I can really connect to what's coming through for me when I'm in the forest and like walking. It's just such a place that I really think I've been co-regulating with the forest this whole time. You can co-regulate with a tree if you go up to it, stand anywhere on where its roots are, and or hug it, and just breathe with the tree, because trees are pumping out oxygen. They're the other half of our respiratory system, and you can just vibe with the tree, and the tree will co-regulate you. I love that so much. I'm so grateful for nature. I'm so grateful to be part of nature. I'm so grateful to have the perception of me as a part of a living system in this earth, instead of just me being a human separate from everything, and me being a human with no connection to something greater than me. Faith has really made dealing with death really much easier, because I kind of see it as a doorway to a different type of relationship with someone that I love. So I just want to remind you that if you're on a journey to a bigger version of your life, work on the feelings. The feelings are the most important part. Something like a manifestation facilitation I like to do. I'm just going to do it right now. So I want you to just take a deep breath in, fill your lungs with air, And then a long exhale, longer than your inhale, just a really long exhale. Breathe it all out. Breathe in again, another deep inhale, and I want you to imagine roots are deep, deep, deep into the core of the earth, and just bring light up through those roots, filling up your body. And then as you exhale, just imagining that light is pouring out of you. It's just coming from below up through your body and just pouring out of you. And then one more time, I want you to bring that light up through your roots. Big inhale. And then as you're exhaling, just imagining your light energy field, just the energy bubble around you, just being cleared of anything that's not of you or for you. And if you want, optionally, just shield yourself in divine protection. I just always imagine a bubble is coming up and over me. And I imagine only God's love can come through the bubble. And I reflect everything else as divine bright light. And I always fortify my bubble with rose quartz. You could do any crystal that vibes with you if you want to do a crystal. I'm kind of like, my guides tell me all the time, you don't need to do all that. But I'm a maximalist. That's what makes me so cute. Okay, now that we've done that, I want you to just like imagine like a dream scenario for you. Something that like, something really big, something outrageous, something that like the limited people in your family would just like be totally like, jaw drop, right? The most limiting belief people in the world, try not to think about them too much, but like, I want you to think about what they would think when this thing happens for you, right? Like just some big, big thing. And so imagine this thing happened for you and it's 3 weeks later. How do you feel? Like, what is your emotional state? And really listen to the first thing that comes to mind. How do you feel? For me, it's that peace and satisfaction that I was feeling at the hour of the bat. Like where I was chilled out, I was enjoying my life and just having pleasure and presence in the present moment and enjoying a snack, because I think I incarnated on earth because I like the snacks here. So just imagine how you feel. And then think about places in your life right now where you feel that feeling. And do more of that. Like just focus on that. Joy is your compass. I believe we have lessons to learn in this incarnation. Our souls incarnate and they have lessons to learn. And we can either learn our lessons the hard way or the joy way. And pain pushes, vision pulls. And if we choose to lean into faith, the vision will pull us into the next right thing and the next right thing we need to do. And there's also a hybrid path too. And my friend, who's an astrologer, Drea, taught me the hard way, joy way, or hybrid path. And she's totally right. And she also says that alignment, spiritual alignment, feels like a jolly free fall. So it might feel like because you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like faith is belief in things unseen. Like, but I know I got to quit this toxic job, but I don't have a backup plan. What am I going to do? But like when the vision is pulling you to just release it, sometimes you've got to create a vacuum in order for the universe to bring things in. This is why, like when you declutter, that's such a good energy to bring in, right? This is why when you release toxic relationships, good relationships can come in and fill that space. Being bored is a place of creativity. Being bored feels weird to those of us who have trauma and chaos in our lineage, right? And so like, remember that bored is good because it means you're not playing into toxic drama bullshit. I knew I had healed a lot when someone was like, oh, blah, blah, blah about their, toxic drama bullshit they wanted to explain to me later. And I had no desire to even hear the story. I was like, if you need to vent, you need me as a friend, that's different. But like, even that, like I have a finite amount of time for toxic drama bullshit, it's very finite, not interested. I used to be like queen, like I want to know everything that's going on because I'm, a little bit nosy, a little bit of a busybody, but like not like that anymore. I'm more interested in like, what self-care is working for you these days? What are you excited about? Like what's coming up? What did you love about this thing that's going on for you? What did you learn most recently? Those are the questions that really juice me up with people. And I like to follow my curiosity. My intuition is always guiding me through curiosity. So I hope that little faith nugget helps to embolden any of you out there who have a big dream on your heart and want to pursue it. And this is as much for me as it is for you. I just had a great reading from Jana at Feeling Loudly. I'm a member of her monthly Patreon tier where I get a monthly tarot reading from her. And she said, yeah, I'm seeing like big romance on this. And I was like listening to this reading thinking, yeah, sure. I've heard that before, which is true. I've been hearing about this big romance for years from various psychics. And I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. But I do believe it because I know it's out there, but like I'm not focused on it. I'm focused on my joy and satisfaction in the present moment, no matter what. That to me is great faith. And so I hope these help. please like and subscribe and comment and all the things that help creators like me, because it does all really help. Okay. I love you so much. Thanks for being here.